Well, a little bit of context. This is not what I meant for this video to be, but this is what this video was meant to be. Sup, y'all? My name's Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Today is the 12th of June, 2025. I was gonna make a video about mowing the lawn, and we might one day, and I might even do it today after right now, because that's not what's currently happening. But I will say, as I talk about, the right side of the body is what gets so inhibited, man. And you know, our video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company titled The Right-Handed World, it just is, we just are as a society. Okay, clothing patterns, things that are designed to be used right-handed. Yeah, so here we go. Let's talk about this. The wrist, my right wrist, it's well, I've made videos titled the right elbow, the right collarbone, the right pelvis crest, dorsiflexion of the right foot. Okay, but it's the right side of the body that gets into all these patternings and scar tissue. Also, a video titled patterning in the forearm, patterning in the right hand. These are videos I've made under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. Now, the whole thing is, right, like our video states, the hand is essentially the shoulder, right? The hands are essentially the shoulders, the feet are essentially the hips. The human body can only ever work activated as a whole, as I say, because it can only do that. And when we're addressing our hands and we're addressing our elbows, which are things that we do, because there's a video titled Keeping Hands the Same Size under In The Image Clothing Company. Well, the wrist is between the hand and the elbow, just like how the hand's essentially the shoulder. Well, between that, if either of those are altered, the elbow will be as well, and so that's why we do what we do, ridding the scar tissue there. But shout out to the airplane. I'll give it just a second. As you can watch my forearms do their thing. Well, I think the big thing is just look at the motion. It's just one of my forearms, my shoulders locked in place, meaning just not moving. Okay, all that motion is just the rotation happening from the wrist, because even my knuckles are still. From the wrist here, there's two bones in the forearm, right? And then at the elbow joint, it just goes to one bone for the upper arm into the shoulder ball and socket capsule. So all this motion, I mean, this shoulder capsule isn't moving all that much, because this, once I get the hand involved as well, then we've got even more rotation coming from the shoulder down. But this is mostly all just in the arm itself, like at the elbow and then the wrist. So what we need to have happen is this, what you're seeing. The motion needs to be there. And not only does it need to be there like this at the neutral wrist, but it also needs to be there like, watch my hand angle. It needs to be there like this. And it needs to be there like this. You see what I'm saying? It needs to be there when your hand's like this, and it needs to be there when your hand's like this. Okay, there's a lot of motion in golly, the forearm. Okay, similar to how from the knee down to the ankle there's a lot of motion. There really is a lot of rotation happens, because as I show, right, the hand is the foot, the wrist is the ankle, the forearm is the lower leg, the elbow is the knee, the upper arm is the upper leg, and then the shoulder is the hip. That's really how simple the body is. And in that lower leg, it's the same as the two bones here, two bones down there. One bone up here, one bone here, okay? The point being, most all people, if you take something like this, it doesn't have to be a lawnmower, but maybe you just put your arms on the back of a chair, on a pole, on a tree branch, and you just try to rotate, right, each side of your body with your elbow fully locked, because you should have full range of motion that was given to you by God, unless you've got like a deformity. That's your own situation. But you know, as far as patterning, scar tissue and stuff, we need to be able to fully extend and then rotate. Okay, so the right arm is the one that's always, you know, take the word always with a grain of salt, but just about always inhibited because of the right-handed world. Wait for this truck, brother. dude, man. He's just driving on the road, and that's what it's meant for, so he's fine. But here's the thing. Locked out rotation, okay? I don't mean go like this and try to see rotation and one of your arms is like this and you think that they're even. No, lock them out and ideally get even rotation. The ways that you can do this is by taking your own human hand and breaking up the scar tissue that you'll feel if you are lacking rotation where the bones here meet into the hand. Like this outer bone comes here, this inner bone, actually I haven't done much of anything with. Well, you know, I talk about the outside of this forearm and breaking up the scar tissue, just as you're seeing me do here. No special tools, use your own hand, and just along the bone, we need to be able to have that rotation, okay? And in the elbow, so you'll notice like here, where if you're sitting down and your arms are on something, they're going to be close up here to the elbow, and you'll probably notice scar tissue in this area, okay? And then at the wrist here, if you know, from things like uneven shoe tying, your hand's just going to be out of its neutral, okay? So scar tissue all throughout here, wind noise all throughout now, okay? Now, this is huge, okay? Get this wrist up the forearm to be able to fully lock out. That's what you do. Don't go like this and try to massage it in some half range of motion, but go full lockout. And while I'm doing this, my fingers are like this, okay? Because the human hand is and has always been round, could only ever work rounded. Correlates with the feet. That's why I call these hand arches, because of the arches in our feet that grip, okay? Neutral foot straight out from the pinky toe, as the neutral wrist is straight out from the pinky finger, okay? Now, but that's the thing, right? We need to be able to get here. Most people can go down here easy enough because that's just a dropped position. But to actually elevate, internally rotate, right, we need to be able to get up, okay? So here, lock it out. Keep your feet even, keep your hips even. So lace and tie your shoes proper, right? In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique. The only way the human feet are ever going to be shaped. Tie them evenly over toward the inside. Yeah, bro, that's funny to say it like that. The dreaded collar seam modification, right? Keep your shoulders even while you're doing this. Tie your drawstrings even while you're doing this. We show the slipped lap knot under In the Image Clothing Company, so you're not just twisting your whole pelvis while you're, well, it would actually be this way while you're trying to do this. See what I mean? Just the drawstring alone is going to cause this patterning, tied in a right-handed knot. So, yeah, okay. Slip lap knot, even horizontal waist, tie it over, you know, tie it to the center line. Everything goes to the center. Anyway, the tail end of the slip lap knot is what I mean. You know, you're going to loop that tail end either in or out. Put everything to the center line of the human being, because there is one, and there's no say to have, okay? Now, yeah, lock it out, brother. The elbow joint, and move it through its ranges of motion. Because what I do is right here, if I'm moving my hand along, what I mean by that is what I feel is right in this area, the middle of my forearm. There's like, no, I can't get to the bone really, because the muscle's allowed to actually work there, and it should kind of be over the bone, right? I mean, the bones are just rotating in there, and there's muscles surrounding them. But also I notice when I get to a certain point, my pinky finger sticks out, right? Because it's hitting into scar tissue, just meaning that the muscles and the bones are just not free to move, and they should be. They're designed to be by God. So here though, as I'm saying, where you're resting your elbows if you are, and where I did for so many years to create the scar tissue. Now what I'm doing here is making sure my shoulder's in a good position. I'm not down here trying to like do this and my neck's all strange, but keep your shoulders even. Well, I said to keep the feet even. I was just kind of like this for the camera so you could see me like face on a little better. But yeah, okay, feet even, hips even, shoulders actually in their neutral location, which is behind the head. The shoulders can only ever work behind the head. You put your shoulders in front of your body and your whole body collapses, and now you're like this, okay? Shoulders only ever work behind the head. You'll never get internally rotated if your shoulders are in front of your body. the muscles that internally rotate the arms, meaning just the fingertips, are up behind your back, upper trapezius, right? Up and in, okay? As just being one of the muscles that does that. So there you go, okay? Like I said, this is not what I was planning to film, but you want to keep your body even, because what you'll notice is as you're trying to straighten your arm out, your right hip comes forward. You want to get that left hip really, it's not getting the left hip forward, it's actually tucking the right one back, because the right side's the one that's inhibited. Because you can probably stand on your left leg and do this decently well, but you want to focus on the right side, extending. Again, extension at the foot, well, gripped arch at the foot, extension at the knee, hip on the right side will tuck back, and you can feel your pelvis kind of go like this, okay? The universal patternings that we talk about under In The Image Clothing Company, because clothing is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. No claim, okay? And you know it if you start to do these things, right? It's just what it is. It's as real as it gets, as I say. So here you go, okay? Just kind of working my finger back and forth along the bone here, where I feel it, you know, it's sticking out. It's gristly, if you will, you know, because there's that bone and then scar tissue on the exterior of the bone. So anyway, and what you might be able to feel is like maybe some crunching up in your shoulder. Don't be nervous about it. If it hurts, that's one thing, right? I mean, pain is just your body telling you there's something wrong. Just don't push into the pain, but don't be afraid if if it hurts a tiny bit. I mean, you know, it's like doing workouts that people do workouts, and the only way you're going to grow muscle is if you do something that's uncomfortable, right? There's a level of discomfort that you might feel, but you want your shoulders to be like locked into their sockets, okay? And they'll come up and in closer to the body. The upper pec here will contract, the collarbone will come up and in, and you might feel right here along where the sternum meets the collarbone, it's uncomfortable, okay? And when I talk about the sternocleidomastoid, which is this muscle that comes from here, the base of the skull back here, down the neck, and connects right into where the collarbone meets the sternum. Yeah, we have a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company titled The Jaw and the Sternocleidomastoid. We have, that video titled The Right Collarbone. That's really what I meant. Well, that's really what I said in the video, is this area right where the collarbone comes down, meets the sternum, there's scar tissue that gets built up right here. A big thing is the dreaded collar seam, almost always placed on the left side, puts the collar like this, and it's always just hanging over this area where that collarbone's just moving, and then this gets so bound up right there. Mine personally, it hurts. When you turn your neck, you see the sternocleidomastoid sticking out. Its motion is right at that insertion of the collarbone to the sternum. So if you feel pain all the way up into your jaw and your head and things, right? You know, we talk about the scar tissue that gets built up on the rear of the jaw that then hits into the sternocleidomastoid, okay? And that just puts you here at the hand. And then we're addressing the forearm, and so this needs to be able to tuck for this to happen, okay? At the forearm, meaning just a neutral position at the wrist, and extension at the elbow, internal rotation at the shoulder. Golly, rounded hand arches, good nails on the fingers, right? You have to support the end of your fingers fully. That's why your nails are there. But anyway, we just need internal rotation, man, because it's naturally there. It's just, you know, internal, external. I'm in a very not so normal position to be really like fully showing the rotations. I'm quite squatted, as you see if you're watching. But what I'm saying is, as you're doing this rotation, you might feel some like clicking in your shoulder, crunching around the collarbone, sternum, top of the shoulder here in the capsule. Don't be nervous about it if it doesn't hurt so much. If it's really painful, don't keep going there. Take it easy, you know. But it's good actually to have that little bit of like crackly crunching. Again, you know, be aware of what you're doing, but that's what that is. I mean, if there's scar tissue, it needs to be physically broken up. That's what we're doing, like this and like this with the finger across the outside of the forearm here. And then you might feel it in your back, right off to the right of your spine, okay, on the inside of your shoulder blade. Because again, you're here so many years, we need to get here. I mean, look at that difference. Imagine just holding something in your right hand, your whole body's off to the right like this. And now we're getting from this position, just such a chronically imbalanced, externally rotated position from the shoulder down, but really that goes up to the eye and the nose and the jaw, the ear even, which is just the space in the you know, the hole between the rear of the jaw and the base of the skull in the rear. So that's all coming from your hand, right? Down here at your fingertips in this externally rotated position, but then traveling to your hips, okay? Traveling out to your feet, but probably stemming from your feet if you're tying your shoes on even. Man, this turned into a thorough video. Not at all what I was expecting, but I'm grateful for it, okay? Now, we're getting from here to watch the difference, okay? You're just in life holding things in your hand, looking down at it, your neck and your upper trapezius, your sternocleidomastoid, your pec major here is overly tight. Your rhomboids and your traps, all three of them, upper, middle, and lower, and your rotator cuff is all just pulled like this. You know, you're stretching your lats probably, but really it's just your hand, which is crazy, but it's the truth, because the lat connects from here and then down the back to the base of the spine and the crest of the pelvis. So yeah, that's all coming from your hand, by the way, and also if your feet, if they're tied uneven or laced uneven, okay? But you're going from here to watch. I mean, just watch the difference, okay? This is how so many of us are in life, just looking at something held in our hands. Watch where I'm showing in this video to get to. Do you see how far that is away from where we were in our chronic patterning? And I'll show this though. Right here in this position, I feel it right here in the collarbone where I was showing. Because when you're internally rotating, now you're contracting the upper pectoral. Now you're pulling everything back and things are clashing into your neck that's in this chronic, like, opened patterning like this. Everything needs to get back to its only neutral, and now you're just a human being instead of an imbalanced thing, right? As I was. I mean, it's just terrible what happens to our body through these chronic patternings. So yeah, okay, collar here, not dreaded collar seam, putting it here, okay? Keeping collars centered. A video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. That's why it's so important. Okay. So here's your video that's not actually mowing the lawn, but it's about patterning in the wrist. That's what I'll title this, because that's really what it boils down to. You work on your elbow, all you do, and you work on your forearm down to close to your wrist, let's say, all you do. But if your wrist just has scar tissue, you're just never going to be able to get from this imbalance to here, okay? Just because the bones will just hit earlier than they would because there's scar tissue built up between them, okay? I mean, just look at the motion here. I mean, those are just bones, and they just need to have space to where, ow, there's some pain there as I'm doing this, just because of all that I've been doing right now, and then you know, really doing the ranges of motion right after. But yeah, I mean, you just, there's the bone here that we show so often, the outer forearm bone, and then it meets into the bone of the hand that goes up to the pinky. There's just, as you can see, right, space in there that needs to be, and then the motion can happen. Because this is the thing, when you look down your arm, a lot of people, their arms will come down, myself in the past more than now as well, and then there's this bump, this bone sticks up, and then their hands kind of like in a misaligned position with their forearm, because if you're here, right, your hand's essentially kind of stuck out, and if your forearm tries to rotate in, now look what it's doing. Watch, this bone will just elevate. Okay, see that bone coming up because the forearm and the shoulder's trying to internally rotate, but the hand is stuck external because we've been here. Now there's scar tissue, so there you go. Okay, patterning in the wrist. Because I've made a video titled, well, I think I referenced them, but I'll say them because this is like where this one's placed. Okay, patterning in the forearm, and I was showing up in here, just didn't look right compared to my left because it just was so inhibited. Patterning in the hand, unless I titled it patterning in the right hand, but it was my right, where I showed how still even right now there's just excess bone built up in my hand at the joints down here at the base of the knuckles, because this what I'm showing in this video, okay, and the hand is essentially the shoulder, oversized clothing, right, all these things that we talk about. Good grief, I rested because I settled in, but I don't rest my arms on stuff like that. It's just not natural, it's not comfortable, it deactivates your body, bro. So also patterning in, well, it's titled patterning around the right ear, and I was in the kitchen in a house, and I showed, you know, all of this patterning, you know, sternocleidomastoid, jaw, ear, eye, head, inhibitants, again, from the hand, or from the foot, or from the drawstring, or from the clothing, or, right, oversized tops, dreaded collar seam. So anyway, yeah, this is cool. I love this because this is on the fly. This is, and that's, I mean, that's pretty much how most all the videos have been up until now, at least. But I didn't even know that this is how this was gonna be at all as far as the topic for this video here. So yeah, okay, if you put your arms together, well, first of all, don't be here at the shoulders. Okay, dreaded collar seam will just do that. But go here. By the way, this shirt has the dreaded collar seam in it, and I've done the modification, and it works, bro. In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. But look at the wrists. Look at the motion is what I'm showing. Lots of motion in the wrist. Neutral resting hand, okay? Here, thumb's just resting on the fingers, and at this position, you're just straight out from the pinky, okay? And there you go, okay? What I'm showing is the wrist. Yeah, okay, so there you go. A lot of that pinky, right, or a lot of it is that pinky. This is real though still. I mean, I can't close my hand on the right any more than I'm showing here. I'm really trying, and it hurts, just the built up bone and scar tissue between the knuckles. I can't, as of right now, you're seeing it, and I'll stand like very even to show I cannot. It hurts, okay, and I've talked about it and I've shown it. So right, it's as real as it gets. Now there you go, okay, that wrist on the right side, because you're going to have shoulder pain if your wrist is inhibited, and you'll never, couldn't possibly, out of a human being's doings, fix your shoulder pain if your wrist is the thing that's actually just not working. Try to work on your shoulder all you want, and your hand's just not in line, okay? So patterning in the wrist, okay, there you go. Today's the 12th of June 2025, because that's the thing, we need to get our right arm across the body, man. Right now I'm very internal on the right foot, traveling up to my hip, so that my right shoulder could be internal, traveling out to the hand. And I'll tell you this, right now I feel it in my collarbone because of the things I've talked about in this video that I'm still working on personally in my own body, bro. The scar tissue up here by the clavicle, which is the name for the collarbone. I was doing that last night. I've been doing that all this week and recently. So, but also, I mean, if your hand can't close all the way, you're just not going to be able to get your arm across your body, because there's only one in-line position for joints to track. But then here's the thing, I showed it here, I can't show it here. It doesn't work, so I had to drop my shoulder to close my hand. It's not a joke. I think you can just kind of see, you know, it's just as real as it gets. So what's so beautiful about videos like these ones is I'll never be able to show these things again. And if I never showed them, I never showed them, right? If that happened to be what it was. But it's beautiful because you can see, you know, me, Evan Strong, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. You know, you can see that I've gone through the same things that I'm showing how to rid, meaning the scar tissue in the body, because it's for the same reasons, because we're all on the same earth and our bodies all work the same, and there's only one way they ever could. All right, so patterning in the wrist, bro. You want to look down your arm, and it should just be pretty well just straight. As you can see, this arm actually is really quite in line now. And if you heard that, that was my shoulder, because I internally rotated and it actually popped in my shoulder. But see the rotations? Yeah, just needs to happen. Okay, well, the dreaded collar seam, we'll place the tag, if it's there, on the rear of your shirt, off to the right, just because the dreaded collar seam does that. If it's on the left, and now you've got a tag sitting on your right trap, and you need to be able to contract your right trap, meaning right upper trapezius, to get your hand internal. Okay, but even here I can't actually straighten my arm, which is nuts. I can straighten this arm, I can't straighten this arm. It's as real as it gets. So that's in the elbow, and we have that video about the elbow. So again, just it's as real as it gets. You never could address your musculature to try to get your ranges of motion back, because all muscles do is move the skeletal system, and if there's things inhibiting the skeletal system, your muscles are just gonna not feel so right, because they're just not gonna be working right. But yeah, there you go. Now you're just kind of watching me do, you know, releases. This is what I mean when I talk about breaking up scar tissue. This is exactly what I do. If the camera was filming or not, you know, behind the scenes or whatever, or, you know, I just meaning I don't use any kind of like massage thing or have anybody else do anything. But and this, you want to be able to close your elbow joint, externally rotated and internally rotated. And if you feel crunching or pain, or you feel like you have to drop your elbow, or meaning your shoulder to do it, then again, really it's coming from the hand. Man, yeah, this is great. This is, you know, more than just the wrist being discussed in this, but that's really good, because this is a one and done type of thing. As I say, you do the releases and you're done for literally the rest of your entire existence on this planet as a human being. Because as long as you don't continue to do the damaging things that caused you to get into the patterning in the first place anymore, then your body will never get into the patterning anymore. It just couldn't, right? There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Never Be the Same, and that's what I mean. Once you're done, you're done. Scar tissue, it's stuff that's taken years to build up. As long as you break it up to where it's gone, and then don't do anything to cause it to be built up again, you know, and grow, you know, then you're done for life. Literally, actually, that's just it. I mean, the bones just need to be clean, you know, and they just would be. They just need to be able to move without crunching into things, otherwise they'll just avoid it, and then you've got compensation, right? So anyway, that's amazing to me, just, you know, where this video turned, if you will. I mean, yeah, but yeah, the big thing's getting the arm across the body, okay? And you can't do that without full elbow extension. You can't do that without the wrist being free of motion. And really, you know, what I'm still working through is you can't quite do it without your hand being able to fully close in line. See, as I did that, my shoulder dropped. Yeah, you can see my fingers not oh gosh, they kind of like roll around, you know, the tendons over the knuckles and stuff, because there's just scar tissue there. And one just built up bone, literally. I mean, you know, bone spurs I talk about, it just happens, bro. Your bone's being pulled on, it's going to grow in a way that's unnatural. right? Yeah, meaning pulled on excessively by the tendons that connect the muscle to it. So, but this is beautiful. This is great. It's just for you to be able to see this, you meaning anybody, ever, ever, because this is literally eternal, as in the human body is only ever going to be what it is, designed by God. And also, when I'm doing this, again, right hip, you want it to come back. You want it to be elevated because you're almost always dropped, okay? Which brings the right hip forward. So you want it to be here, elevated, straightened, across the body, okay? Because this is just the opposite pattern. Well, it's not a pattern, but this is opposite of the patterning of this, okay? We're here, internal at the foot to the hip, internal at the hand to the shoulder, and across the body, elevated, extended. There you go, okay? Look at my pinky stick out when I do it, and my fingers spread out as I do it. I feel it in here. Ow, gosh, it hurts. Sometimes, you know, it's very beneficial to do things only so much at a time, let your body kind of adjust to it and, you know, work, you know, now in its loosened position before you just, you know, do so much at a time. If it doesn't hurt or anything, then, you know, do as much as you do at a time, that's fine. But also the thumb, you want it to be straightened, because you can maybe get your elbow straight with your thumb like this, and then maybe you straighten your thumb and how your elbow, well, me personally, goes like this. It's not your thumb's fault, it's the hand and the wrist. Okay, so, yeah. The human hands are only ever round. If you're using things flat, now your thumb just can't get to the fingers, okay? So the thumb just gets blamed for something that's the fingers or the wrist, when really what it is the flat man-made world that's not allowing, right, the hand to just work the only way it ever could. Oh, so, you know, even here, I was going to show that in the mowing the lawn video. This, on these flat bars, is so much more unnatural, just meaning it's unnatural, and more than this on the rounding, because your human hands are round. They only ever could be. They always have been. And there you go, okay? So, man, literally never could possibly be the same, unless X amount of years went by to allow the same patternings to occur for the same amount of scar tissue to build up here and here and here and here and here and in the shoulder capsule, and you see what I'm saying? Wherever else it would have to be, all combined cumulatively, if that's how you say that word, but just meaning, you know, all together, in order to get you back into the same patterning. That's the only way that this could, like, be undone. You're done once you're done. You break up scar tissue, it's just not there anymore. Okay, so clothing is the only fix for human beings' physical pain. I say it and I say it and I say, well, I say it also, though, not just pain. All pain is your body talking to you. But physical problems, even into internal things, the way your organs sit here, right, versus here, okay? Your whole body's altered, is what I'm saying, from clothing, and your wrist is altered from things that are nowhere near your wrist. Your right shoelace tied in external rotation, okay? So internally rotate, and there you go, okay? Now, I'll talk about where clothing sits, because I started this video in a way that I didn't do that, because it wasn't going to be this video as far as I knew, and then it became this video. By the way, I'm not fully done with this. I'm just not going to continue to do this right now for the, you know, while this video is filming. But I've done a lot, actually, even just during this, and it's been very, very wonderful. I've been going through so much physical pain as I've been ridding scar tissue in my own body as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, okay? It's been about 9 months as of today's date, give or take, since our founding date. So, right, things take time, by the way. Good things take time. Stick with it, be persistent. Clothing, pants need to be entirely above the hips, so there's no restriction to the hips, okay? Slightly higher in the front than the rear for the waistband angle, just because then our core muscles can actually work. They're only there to be constantly activated. They always would be, unless otherwise restricted by something man-made placed onto them. Tops that we wear, the seams on top of our shoulders. I was going to point, but I can't get my hand all the way up there. The seams have to sit evenly behind the peak of our shoulders. I know right now it might not seem like they're behind, probably because they're not quite. Well, actually they are barely. Well, what I'm saying, the reason I address that is because I'm just in a position that's, you know, different than like my normal neutral position, where now they are definitely behind the shoulder. Not that this is like my normal neutral position for life things, but this is a neutral position. I just can't stand up without my head being much more cut off than it already has been. Okay, the edges of our tops, they need to be right at the edges of our shoulders with those seams. Just that's where the functionality is, right? You're trying to get your right arm across the body, and you need the seam to hinge right there. Okay, there's a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company titled Reaching the Right Arm Across the Body. As far as I'm aware, that's the title word for word. And then 2 prerequisites under In The Image Clothing Company, as they've been since the founding and always will be. Shoelacing technique of ours, In The Image Clothing Company's shoelacing technique, the only way that you can weave a rope across the top of the human foot and shape it the way the human foot is shaped. Okay? We tie our shoes, I said it earlier, over toward the inside evenly, because then you have internal rotation and you can actually operate, because that's just half of your body's rotation. Okay? As we've talked about in this a lot, internal versus external. Okay? Now, and when I say half of your body's rotation, I mean you're dwelling within internal rotation as a human being. If you're in external rotation, you're dead. I mean, like literally, you feel like you're just lifeless. And most people are in that state nowadays, and it's because of clothing. It just is, and it just is. Okay, nothing will ever fix you exercise-wise, you know, specialist-wise, routine-wise, diet-wise. It's just your body's being physically inhibited by something placed physically on it, if it is. Okay, there's only one way that things can be placed, angle-wise and location-wise, to just allow the body to work. That's what we do under In The Image Clothing Company, okay? So there you go. Secondly, though, we remove all tags from clothing, our other prerequisite. The same thing. I mean, I talked about the tag up here on the upper trapezius, inhibiting the ability for it to contract, and then, you know, your wrist is altered anyway, for the sake of what this video is about, the right wrist. That's one of the reasons why it is so damaged, okay? Mine personally, too, okay? Okay, all right. So there you go, dude. Stick around, bro. Stick around for the poodles. Right, In The Image Clothing Company podcast with discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're on episode 132 as of last night. In The Image Clothing Company poodles, we specialize in purebred standard poodles, and we do a lot, okay, for poodles, letting dogs stay natural, and poodle parade events. So check it out. Where you can find us, InTheImageClothingCompany.com is one of the places. Also, In The Image Clothing Company music, right? I show how to size and set up guitars there. And so, I mean, same thing. You're playing a guitar like this, and then now your wrist is just damaged rather than smaller guitar, because there's only one neutral position for your wrists, because you're just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space designed by God, so you got no say over how to make it work. You just have to allow it, or you're damaging it. And if you don't know, you don't know, and that's not your fault. But what is good about In The Image Clothing Company is we give so much free information, okay? And that's what you need, is just understanding on how to. We give a lot of that here, okay? So thank you, and thank you. I said it, but I'll say it again. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. There is patterning in the wrist, as far as that's what this video is titled, okay? Patterning in the wrist. There's your video on it, is what I mean. Thank you.